Happy New Year, welcome back to my channel where today a new blue just dropped. And by just dropped, I mean I recorded this over the summer and I didn't edit it, the end. So this is YInMn Blue. I got on Golden Artist Colors mailing list to get it. And it is a new pigment that was discovered recently. I did some swatching with it. The top one is the new color. It is pronounced YInMn Blue. It's kind of got a little bit of a purpley tone to it and like a lot of granulation, and this is it next to every other blue I owned at the time. And I wanted to do a demo piece with it for you today and tell you my thoughts, and I think it's the closest to ultramarine blue, but I will leave that to y'all to decide. If you want to get your hands on this, it's currently not available, but Qor does have a mailing list on their website. I'll try to link in the description. So today I'll be working in this little sketchbook. Here are some example pieces that I already made using this pigment, and you can see the granulation if I get up close here, hopefully. This is a very difficult pigment to work with. I don't know if that is because this paint is so new and they're still figuring it out, or if that's just the nature of the pigment, which I think it's the latter. But it was fun to work with. It is a fun novelty pigment, and today I'll be painting Sailor Mercury in an attempt to learn how to use it properly. So with all of that out of the way, let's begin. So I'll be using these Qor watercolor pans since this is also a Qor watercolor paint and I wanted to keep it consistent. And let me show you what this looks like on the palette here. So I'm trying to be conservative with how much of this I'm using because this tiny little tube of 5mm of watercolor paint was $30. If you want to buy it from an independent seller on Etsy, they also have it in various formats. It might even be cheaper than buying it from Golden, because for whatever reason, they are only offering FedEx shipping when I bought it, so it was $15 for the tube, and then $15 to ship it in an enormous box, even though it was one tiny tube of paint. I recommend definitely swatching this regularly. I noticed while working with it, this is a paint that does not like to mix. So you can try to mix it, and I'm going to do it in this painting. I did it in my previous ones, and we'll see together how that was a mistake. This pigment definitely shines best used on its own, but as I said, it is quite difficult to work with. It is a very heavily granulating paint, which is not something I'm used to, and there's not a lot of advice on how to use it, because it is very, very hard to find right now. This is a very rare color. Like I said, Etsy sellers have been selling it for a while, so you can sometimes find it on there. But it's not cheap, it's expensive, and it's hard to use. So do I recommend getting it? Not really. Unless you just really like rare colors and suffering. So, if you do like rare colors and suffering, my advice would be that this pigment works best on its own. I recommend picking subjects where you can already rely heavily on this, which blue doesn't occur a lot in nature, so that's not super easy to do, particularly this shade of blue, which, you know, I guess is why it hasn't been a pigment until now, which is why I went with Sailor Mercury, even though this isn't 100% accurate to her color palette. I also don't care, and I do what I want. So I decided to go with her because she has a lot of blues, and I figured this blue would be suitable enough to make this work, and obviously it would still read as Sailor Mercury. So we're doing a lot of monopigment. I'm doing a lot of building this up and layering again because I noticed like this pigment kind of, the way it granulates, it gets less opaque after it dries almost. It's very hard to explain. Only real hipsters use YInMn Blue, but that's just something to watch out for. You're gonna have to build this pigment up a lot. Alright, and so for my next trick, it's time to start attempting to mix this. And I tried to mix it with several different colors on this palette, just to kind of see how it would behave. So this is me trying to mix up like a green blue to do the shading with. And I decided to go with that color because that is a color they shade Sailor Mercury's hair with often in the anime. I don't really like how it looks here, and I'm pretty sure I ended up dabbing all this up and going back and doing it again. But, you know, best laid plans. We gotta experiment, and failing is a part of learning how to do stuff better. The green and this paint did hold together a little better than when I try to mix this later with like the fuchsia and stuff. The fuchsias, or I think it's a magenta on this palette, and this paint just separate constantly, which can make some cool effects, but what they won't make is a slightly more magenta shade of blue. So that is something to be aware of. And also when I dab this paint up, like it stains the paper. So I ended up having to go in with like a really heavy coat, which ended up making the shading work a little bit better. But this YInMn Blue I basically built up until it was completely opaque at this point of the painting. In case you're wondering about this painting in general, by the way, I did end up hating it and deciding to redo it digitally. I just was unhappy with how this came out, and also because I realized her eyes were asymmetrical, so now it's going to annoy you for the rest of the video, and if I must suffer with this knowledge, so must you. So leave your favorite annoying thing that I do in the comments below, and let's make some really, really crisp shadows. I do like how my shadows came out here. Hi Haku, did you hear my cat? He's really handsome. I don't know if you could tell just from hearing him. And now he's on the desk. Hello, sir. Would you like to help with the painting? Haku's favorite hobby is walking in my paints while they're wet and getting little paw prints everywhere, so that's exciting. Anyway, we're making really crisp shadows. I believe this is still using the green color, though my palette's off screen, so I can't tell, and honestly at this point I don't remember. I might have just mixed it with the Payne's gray at this point to get a more neutral shadow than how the green one was coming out. Yeah, I think that's what I did, just based on a visual inspection of what I'm doing here. So again, the colors came out a lot darker than I wanted, but at this point that was all I could do to save the piece. So at this point I am High School Musical breaking free, and I'm switching to Pyrrole Red, which that I don't know if I'm pronouncing right. I know how to pronounce YInMn Blue. Pyrrole Red beats me. I have it up on the screen right now if you want to take a guess down in the comments. But I started moving on to the other elements of the piece. I do try to incorporate YInMn Blue again later. I think I tried to use it for the shading for the shirt, and I even might have put a little in her skin, but it's very, very hard to mix. So the rest of this is just kind of going to be a general painting video. At some point I will do a full review of these watercolor paints, the Qor ones. I've had this palette for several months now, and I do really like it. It's my primary palette at this point, so I will let you guys know my thoughts in a future video. I already swatched it, but in my very quick opinion, you know how Stuart Semple made the world's coloriest watercolor palette? That turned out to be a lie, because this is the coloriest watercolor palette. So don't buy the Stuart Semple one. Buy this one. It's about the same price. It has fewer colors, but they're way better. And now we're back on YInMn Blue, and I have gone back and started building up the colors again, because I went really dark on the shading, and now the lighter colors look very silly next to it. I think it's harder to tell here, but like I have these very crisp shadows, and then these like super granulated lighter areas. So all my YInMn Blue on this piece ends up being like completely opaque, at least those areas I painted at first, which is not the effect I was going for. In fact, it's decidedly not the effect I was going for, but it's the effect I got, and you know, every painting is a chance to learn something. And now I'm free again, and I'm back in the red. I really like this red color. I don't use it a whole lot because I tend to rely on cool reds instead of warm reds, because cool reds they're basically pink, and I like pink. But I really should use this color more. And here comes me futilely attempting to shade with YInMn Blue. I think this actually turns out okay. Just the granulation on this, geez. I don't know what texture this would be good for. Maybe clouds? Maybe if I did more nature painting, I would understand the true nature of this paint. But I am just so bad at using it. So if you want my official review, it's I'm bad at using this and unqualified to give you an opinion. So don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more inane videos about things I don't understand. So instead of talking more about the painting right now, I want to talk about the sketchbook that I am working in. So I mentioned that I made this sketchbook, and you can see my bad hand stitching in the middle there. I actually made this out of a pack of Arteza, I don't know how to pronounce that either, but they sell packs of 100% cotton watercolor greeting cards that are blank, and you know, you're meant to paint on them and then send them to people. But instead of sending things to other people who I care about, I decided, who do I care about most? Me. And I decided to turn them into a sketchbook. I'm kidding. I bought them with the purpose of turning them into a sketchbook, and I have many friends who all like me and don't find me irritating. But yeah, so they have these packs of sketch cards. I want to say there's 25 to 50 in a pack. And I had been watching videos that week about bookbinding, and I was like, huh, I think I have everything I need for this except a bone folder to fold the pages all nice. And then I was like, wait a minute, you know who already folded the pages? Because I'd seen these products before because I use Arteza products a lot. And then I went and bought this box of cards and I made my own, particularly because also that was pretty early in the pandemic, as I recall, and I was having trouble getting the sketchbook that I liked. It is a Paul Rubens one that I have linked in the description of every video, but they were back ordered for a while at that point, so I was like, screw it, I'm gonna make my own. And then I did. And this is that. If you would like to see how I did it, I only ended up using half of the pack on this sketchbook because you get 4 surfaces, basically 4 pages per card. So any more than that, and this would have been an absolute behemoth. It's already a pretty thick, generous sketchbook. So I do still have the other half of the pack and would be happy to make a video about it if y'all want to see me stab myself a bunch of times with a tiny needle. I won't call it a tutorial because I am not good enough at it to teach you how to do it properly, but I will link to other tutorials in that video or in the comments if you just want to know what tutorial I used, let me know, and I will drop you a link to that. Because I learned it just to make this. Sometimes when you have ADHD, you just learn how to do bookbinding and you can't control it. It's one of the things in the DSM-5 that they say about ADHD. You just learn how to do bookbinding for no reason. So yeah, let's get back to talking about the painting. I decided to go in and darken my shadows. I think I'm just using straight Payne's Gray here because at this point I'd had enough of YInMn Blue's negativity. So I am just darkening the shadows, and also my paint during this whole monologue about the sketchbook has been bleeding into each other, and I just didn't want to bring the negativity of that into your lives, so I decided to ignore it. And here for this last wash, I believe this is still YInMn Blue in the back that I'm doing a big transparent wash. When in doubt, if your art looks bad, put a big transparent color behind it. If it's watercolor, do a wash like this. If it's marker, you just pick a shape that you like and put it back there, and then your art will be good, and no one will ever know how much you suffered making it. I mean, unless you make a whole YouTube channel where all of your voiceovers are complaining about how hard things were to do. Honestly, I think I had such a bad time doing this painting that shortly thereafter, I just relearned the entire skill of digital art. I had been meaning to do it for a while anyway, and I got so mad after I did this one that I believe I spent like almost the entire month after it just in digital art boot camp, because I was like, I need something that's more forgiving than friggin' YInMn Blue and my life is ruined. It's not. I still paint. I've been painting more recently. But yeah, I'll throw up the digital version of this on the screen. Oh, nope, we're not putting that red there. Okay, I'll throw up the digital version next to this completed painting on the screen, just so you can see the difference. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I hated making it. And Happy New Year. I'm going to be trying to post every other week this time for real. I even made a spreadsheet about it, so you know I'm serious. So y'all have a wonderful day. Have a Happy New Year. Stay safe. And I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.